Carrie. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. We're here on Tuesday, March the 18th, 2015. We're actually going to conduct a statutory meeting and then go into our regular meeting. But before we do that, can we, everybody join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. I don't think anyone signed in on pink sheets, but it may not apply to this anyway. We'll go to that in case someone would come later. Okay, we're on your agenda regarding the levy rates. Just to have the discussion, could I have a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Curry and Mr. Wilkerson. Okay, that's an all yes vote. Carol?
Yes.
Okay, so we haven't voted on the item, but we have voted to discuss it. Now we're going to let Treasurer Gandy tell us why we're here and what she's asking of us.
Okay. So we've got our long anticipated tax rates for fiscal year 14 values, and will be our funding for fiscal year 15. And actually, just let me come up here for a minute. Yes. So you can see. And if you'll look on page 2, that is the codes that we go by, and it gives you the tax rates for the regular levies. Of course, there's no taxes on Class 1 property anymore in West Virginia. The Class 2 property is 38.80. And if you look over the next column for the excess levy, it's 4,790. Excess levy is at 100%. And the Class 3 and 4 is 77.6 and 91.8. So we are going to generate $3.1 million regular tax collections and $3.7 million excess levies. And that's net after deductions for uncollectibles and discounts. So that's the net we're expected to see. At the bottom of that, it will give you a description of what those particular classes are, if you care to read those. And it goes on to the next page. And then the next page is our actual tax, proposed tax levy. This will go to the state auditor's office in West Virginia Department of Ed. The next page is the excess levies. And let's go turn back one page to the regular levies. And I know there's a new law, and Trish had sent it to me, and I didn't get to read it. I couldn't get to it, Trish, but you know there's talk about, we currently get a 5% allowance for discounts and uncollectibles, and I don't know if it made it into the deal because I didn't get to read it, but if it did, then we only will be allowed to have a 4% allowance for uncollectibles. So that will amount to, you can see I've got a 1% right here, and so that's a $32,000 loss for us. Because I have mine broke down, I've got 4% in allowance for uncollectible exonerations and delinquencies, and then I've got 1% in allowance for tax discounts. That's where the 5% is.
Now, when you're talking, are you talking about the bill that was passed in special session regarding the penalty and all of that? That might have been a component of that?
It was in there, wasn't it?
Well, I know it was in one of those earlier bills, but the final one, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
it was in
Yeah, and I didn't
there.
get to read what actually got to Governor. Trish had sent it to me, but I couldn't get it open.
So you think because of that, assuming it was, like Fred saying, that it cost us 1%?
Yeah, everybody, statewide,
Well, that's what I
everybody.
mean, that's.
And our 1% would be 32,000. Okay, then I've got a little history. I've got a little spreadsheet here on this page. And on the very first column, we have our assessed valuation for tax purposes 14-15. Then the next column's the net change, and then I have the assessed values 1314. Now, if you look all the way to the bottom, the total value for tax purposes is $548 million. It's an increase of $74 million. But if you kind of go up that column there, you'll see that negative $25 million, a decrease. I was kind of shocked to see that, because I was expecting everything to be up. And so I called Mr. Brumfield, Josh, and he said that's our coal tax values that went way down. And that's not a local valuation, all that's done at the State Department. And I put a little note on the bottom there, all minerals and public utilities are valued by the West Virginia State Tax Department, so that's nothing here. So what we thought we were gonna get, a bump on the excess levy, is not what we expected it to be. And the decrease in the coal value is the reason. Okay? So then there's just a little history. Then the next page, I just kind of highlighted here for you guys, additional levy. And I've got it in a little box with the arrow pointing. That's the additional levy that we'll generate this year. It's $218,640. And, you know, we had heard numbers like 500,000, 600,000. It's $518,640. That's our number. Two.
I wish
218,000.
I wish it was 518, but it's 200.
And the increase in our local collections, it went up 181,000. Now there's a, depending on how they do it, if we would get, if there was no change in the tax law with that 5% penalty, we would end up, we could possibly gain $14,000 out of that 181,000. That would be an 8% local share, but that's all we would get out of that. That's an estimate, it's not a solid number, what we would actually get. This is a good number, what the tax values are and the increase, but we don't get to keep all the local share collections. So the excess levies, we do get to keep that. Okay, any questions?
Okay, going back to the, I guess the second page there, where you first proposed levy rate. So this, where you have the amounts, net revenue regular, net revenue excess, and you give us these amounts here. Now, is this dependent upon tax collections? I mean, if there are not as many, if, you know,
Yes,
delinquencies, that would these go down?
Well, we've already allowed for 5% uncollectibles.
And before you gave us this figure? Okay.
So that figure is a net. And Steve, if you'll look over on this page here, and you can follow that number down.
Oh, I see, less than for uncollectibles and something, okay.
The gross would be 3.3 million, and then you have your allowances, and that's the 4 under 1%, so there's your 5%.
And that's.
And then there's the assessor's evaluation, they get 2%.
Okay.
So then that's our net.
Same amount there. Okay, good.
Okay,
Okay.
all good?
Anybody have any other questions? Ms. Smith, you have any?
No.
All right, Bertie, thank you. All right. That being the case, if there's anything else, then we'll vote on the levy rate establishment of the levy rates and all. We've already have a motion and a second. Is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
Yes, all yes vote on that part, okay. Now, the next item on this is the suspension of action until April the 15th of 2014 at 6 o'clock.
So moved.
Mr. Wilkerson,
Second.
Ms. Smith, second. Okay, and this, of course, is required by statute, right, Bertie, that we come back on April the 15th. Is that an all yes vote? Yes. Okay. All right, all yes on that.